Hello. Philosophies 5 and 6 seem to be misplaced in this binded syllabus I have about philosophies and wisdom. So this next section is Philosophies 7. Hopefully I'll be able to find Philosophies 5 and 6 somewhere else misplaced in this binded syllabus. But as for now, this is Philosophy 7. 10 reasons why Canada is better than America. Medicare in Canada shows that we can and do care for others, even when we don't know them. That's what makes us a great and compassionate nation. Our big brothers south of the border can learn from us actually 10 things. 1. Medicare. 2. No death penalty. 3. Abortion legal. 4. Better gun control laws. 5. Equal rights for homosexuals. 6. We are more liked abroad and overseas in foreign countries. That's why Americans claim they are Canadians whenever traveling abroad. 7. The metric system. 8. Designate dates, day, month, year, like the rest of the world, instead of month, day, year in the States. 9. 1/10 the population ours is to the States. More room and more space for a less amount of people. 10. More diverse political parties to choose from for electing to be in power and rule. Miscellaneous. Having a grievance or resentment is like drinking poison and expecting it will kill your enemy. Nelson Mandela. God is not difficult to find, but is impossible to avoid. Deepak Chopra. Not, hey God, I have a big problem, but hey problem, I have a big God. If you're good at something, never do it for free. The people who are the hardest to love are usually the ones who need it the most. Anger, hatred, violence really are all just fear. Fear, then, not money, is the root of all evil. Peaceful warrior. Always listen and keep an open mind to both sides of an issue until you make judgment or develop an opinion about it. Anyone can have an opinion, but is it informed? God's way is the way of a well-informed conscience which knows the truth. Charlie Spittle, June 6, 2010. Don't assume, verify. When you assume, you make an ass out of you and me. I trust, but verify. Ronald Reagan, President Ronald Reagan. The rich declare war, the poor go to it. Charlie Spittle, June 12, 2010. The rich screw in the poor. Always have, always will. Platoon. The first casualty of war is truth. Winston Churchill. The first casualty of war is innocence. Oliver Stone. In dealing with conflict, don't get caught up in which came first, the chicken or the egg. Meaning, don't argue who started it first, for we could argue forever and a day and not resolve that. Besides, that's not important. Conflict resolution says both sides claim the other struck first. What is important is how both sides will mutually compromise to resolve the conflict and generate a win-win situation for everyone involved. Charlie Spittle, June 12, 2010. We know what we are, but know not what we may be. Shakespeare. We are made wise not by the recollection of our past, but by the responsibility of for our future. George Bernard Shaw. Tear gas, pepper spray, tasers, clubs, rubber bullets, mace, non-lethal ways of dealing with violent riots and or upset mobs, and if you're going to use live rounds, fire warning shots first to prevent any casualties. Charlie Spittle, June 14, 2010. I don't mind being racially profiled as long as the police don't use excessive force. And I'd also like to mention they do racially profile whites and or Caucasians. Charlie Spittle, June 29, 2010. I believe those who stand against gays serving openly in the military and or marriage or adopting children claim it threatens their values. I think for most of them it's a reaction formation and cognitive dissonance that they are latent and or closeted homosexuals themselves, because how else would someone else's lifestyle threaten your own? Besides, just as long as they're not hurting themselves or no one else, I don't see a problem with that. Charlie Spittle, June 20th, 2010. Be wise, don't be stupid. Charlie Spittle, June 27th, 2010. I still believe in eHarmony because of its analytical way of matchmaking potential couples, and it is psychologically deep in common values, beliefs, and ethics that transcend physical appearance and looks. Personally, I don't believe in love at first sight and or soulmates, that there is exactly just one person in the whole wide world for you and no one else. To me, true love is not finding the perfect person, but by seeing an imperfect person perfectly. There is no perfect person out there, but that doesn't mean couples can't be perfect for each other. Charlie Spittle, June 20th, 2010. Some examples. Carl Sagan, his second wife, shared a passion for astronomy. Paul Newman and Ronald Reagan, to their second wives, were very successful and long marriages. And Will Smith, I believe, second wife, Jada Pinkett Smith. Also, to all those homosexuals who are in the closet, divorce your spouse and find your true gay lesbian lover. Charlie Spittle, July 9, 2010. Life's too short to be with the wrong person. Charlie Spittle, July 9, 2010. When I was in high school, I had an immature fascination with guns. I no longer like them like Batman, but I do condone others' right to bear arms. Charlie Spittle, July 9, 2010. Although I don't condone violence in reality, I appreciate a good action movie and condone UFC, Ultimate Fighting Championship, boxing and violence in video games, etc. Charlie Spittle, July 9, 2010. I'm a 36-year-old, out-of-shape, overweight, mentally ill university dropout who's unemployed and still more or less lives with his parents. Charlie Spittle, July 10, 2010. Many of life's failures are people who didn't know how close they were to success and gave up. Thomas Edison. You should never be ashamed to be who you are and how God made you. God does not make mistakes when it comes to the diversity of humanity. If God wanted us to all be the same, why did she make us so different? Rhetorical question. Charlie Spittle, July 10, 2010. A large and significant part of being a great leader is being a good listener and open-minded enough to hear and listen to both sides of an issue. Sometimes there are more than two sides to an issue. And any good leader is an excellent follower, one who knows when to take direction, guidance, and when to give it. Charlie Spittle, July 10, 2010. Why did God make it a challenge to live a healthy, righteous life? Because she wanted us to mature and grow into be willing to choose between what is right to what is easy. The free will to decide how we live. Charlie Spittle, July 10, 2010. Just as people fall in love, they can also possibly fall out of love and or grow apart. That's just the nature of humanity. No one is perfect, so why do we set ourselves to a perfect ideal relationship, marriage? You must work to make marriage work. In marriage, not one is greater without the other, but other brings out and makes you great together. Will Smith. True love is not finding the perfect person, but in seeing an imperfect person perfectly. You may not be perfect, nor your partner perfect, but you may be perfect for each other. I recognize the redundancy. I already said that before. Charlie Spittle, July 10, 2010. I sometimes believe the only true love is the love parents have for their children. Being a good parent is to have unconditional love for your children, and it is like being God, who has unconditional love for all of humanity. Everyone is God's child. Some say to kill is to be like God. I say to forgive and or To be a parent is to be like God. To err is human, to forgive is divine. Charlie Spittle, July 10, 2010. Forgiveness is just another word for love. Charlie Spittle, July 10, 2010. Hate cannot diminish hate. Only love can do that. Buddha. I voice and advise philosophies and principles, not taste. Charlie Spittle, July 10, 2010. When it comes to trends, swim with the current. When it comes to principles, stand hard as a rock. Thomas Jefferson. I like Ralph Nader and would support him in becoming the next president, but I first would like to know his dispositions and stances he takes on foreign policy. Charlie Spittle, July 10, 2010. I don't want or necessarily need to be loved by a vast amount of people in the world and be famous. All I want and need is to be devoted to a woman and maybe even raise a family, and left alone as a private citizen who is financially free of those monetary kinds of worries, because I believed I've earned it. I'd only want fame if it could help save one more life or contribute to people not killing each other. That is why fame, not for myself, but for others. Charlie Spittle, July 10, 2010. Be gentle like Jesus. What would Jesus do? Then think of the death penalty. Charlie Spittle, July 11, 2010. Personally, I'm pro-life and against the death penalty. Politically, I'm against the death penalty, but I'm reluctantly pro-choice. I explained my disposition and reasons for this before, but here I go again. In real life, if a woman is going to have an abortion, she's going to have it, or find a way to have it. The question is whether or not it will be a safe procedure or life-threatening. It's bad enough we're losing one life. It would be worse if we potentially lose 2 lives. What about an illegal abortion damages the reproductive systems of the woman so she can't have any future children? What about that for pro-life? What about mothers who have abortions? If it was illegal, are you going to deprive a child or children their mothers because they had an abortion? You can argue until you're blue in the face, or forever and a day, whether abortion is right or not, but you won't prevent a woman from having an abortion in real life. Charlie Spittle, July 11, 2010. God does not make mistakes. People do with their free will and power of choice and decisions. Charlie Spittle, July 11, 2010. Don't make the perfect the enemy of the good. I'm glad I didn't make it as a cop, because once you are, I believe people, once they know, will not trust you as much as once they know you are an enforcer of the law. They don't want to be arrested or punished for their sins such as street drugs, prostitution, grand theft auto, unlawful gain of money, stealing, etc., assault, etc. Charlie Spittle, July 11, 2010. Lest we forget Nazi Germany and Hitler, the Holocaust should never be forgotten, and it is imperative that the truth of the tyranny and the mob mentality, negative groupthink, group-minded hatred, and violence should be exposed and learned from to prevent such genocide and ethnic cleansing, to never let it happen again. Charlie Spittle, July 11, 2010. You are no better or no less than anyone else, a peaceful warrior. Just because parents' spouses don't love each other as much or romantically anymore, that doesn't mean that they love their children, stepchildren any less. Charlie Spittle, July 12, 2010. If you can go any further one way, try the other, because the other may be at full capacity or zero capacity. Charlie Spittle, July 13, 2010. You're only truly wealthy when you share your riches with others and have true friends. Charlie Spittle, July 13, 2000. What you get won't last you long. What you give, you can keep forever. Anthony Robbins. Don't treat new friends better than old ones. Like insulting your old friend to impress a potentially or new friend because you think that they're an old friend, that they can take it, when you're really betraying him or her. Charlie Spittle, July 15, 2010. Adults treat teenagers like they don't know nothing, and teenagers treat adults as though they never were teenagers before. They're both wrong. Charlie Spittle, July 15, 2010. I feel like a priest who gives marital advice, couples and or family counseling, even though he is not married and does not have a family, or as a psychotherapist who counsels people going through a crisis or have PTSD from a traumatic experience while she has not had one. Charlie Spittle, July 15, 2010. Just because the dead can't speak doesn't mean they can't hear. Charlie Spittle, July 15, 2010. You can mock, parody, satirize, make fun of, exaggerate, put down, insult, derogatorize me, for I want to be a paragon of magnanimity. Charlie Spittle, July 15, 2010. Competition with trying to catch that person you long and pine for. Most people believe that to eliminate competition, you put that person down, and the potential mate would laugh and believe the competition a fool or unworthy or their affections, and would be impressed by you. All is fair in love and war. I don't believe this technique works, and it is petty, like jealousy. May the best man win. Charlie Spittle, July 16, 2010. Free Aung San Suu Kyi of Burma. U.S. Senator John McCain demands as well. Although inner beauty is more radiant, it takes longer to see. Charlie Spittle, July 17, 2010. Rather remote acquaintances than intimate enemies when it comes to Osama bin Laden. Charlie Spittle, July 17, 2010. I've always been a deep thinker. My revelation wasn't being aware of how deep I was, but how shallow most people are. Charlie Spittle, July 18, 2010. Life is God's gift to us. What we do with it is our gift to God. Andre Agassi. The unexamined life is not worth living. Socrates. When in doubt, go with instinct, intuitions, initiative, first impressions. Charlie Spittle, July 21st, 2010. When you mark something you're not sure of, come back to it later. Charlie Spittle, July 21st, 2010. The dead don't speak, but the memory of them do. No one is truly dead as long as they exist in the memory of others. The mission. Be gentle like Jesus, ecumenical, called, demanded by providence to all Christians. Jesus said we'd do greater works than him. Not be greater than him, but do greater works than him. About the death penalty, what would Jesus do? Forgive your enemies 70 times 7. Jesus Christ. Only the dead have seen the end of war. Plato. A little knowledge is a very dangerous thing. It can generate more ignorance and prejudice than no knowledge at all, especially when it is taken out of context, when the whole bigger picture is not taken into account. For example, the black agricultural department employee who was fired for a soundbite. Charlie Spittle, July 30, 2010. Whatever money I've earned, I'd like 90% to go to charity and 10% for myself. It's just money. Money can be replaced, people cannot. Charlie Spittle, July 30th, 2010. Wishing to be friends is quick work, but friendship is a slow ripening fruit. Aristotle. Personally, I'm a pacifist. Politically, I'm not. Personally, I'm pro-life. Politically, I'm reluctantly pro-choice and against the death penalty. Charlie Spittle, February 12, 2010. I'd prefer that everyone not have guns, but I want them to make a free choice, not to own them. Everyone deserves the right to bear arms to protect themselves and their loved ones. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to stop killing each other. I believe and hope that 100 years after my death, there will be no need for firearms, only to hunt animals, not fellow human beings. Charlie Spittle, July 31st, 2010. Some things don't need an answer. They just need a witness. Sharon Stone. Truth, justice, and or love is always worth dying for. Charlie Spittle, August 3rd, 2010. If a free society cannot help the many who are poor, it cannot save the few who are rich. Let us never negotiate out of fear, but let us never fear to negotiate. JFK. Success is the best revenge. He who laughs last laughs best. Only the weak are cruel. Gentleness can only be expected from the strong. Leo Buscaglia. Only the weak seek revenge. Forgiveness can only be expected from the strong. Charlie Spittle. The work and effort is in the preparation. The wisdom is in the doing. The glory is in the training and practicing more than the simple execution of what you are training to do. Charlie Spittle, August 7, 2010. More sweat in the training equals less blood shed on the battlefield. Work on the strength of being good over the weakness of being evil. Strength in this life, happiness in the next. Charlie Spittle, August 7, 2010. There is lightness and darkness in all of us. It's how we choose to act which defines who we are. The choice between being right over the choice of what is easy. J.K. Rowling's. Fight for what's right, not for revenge. Money can't buy real friends, but it certainly helps to have people in your favor. Charlie Spittle, August 7, 2010. Empathize. Inside looking out and outside looking in. Charlie Spittle, August 10, 2010. Human wisdom is infinite, or at least the expression of it is. That's why we have so many self-help books and literature on wisdom, psychology, philosophy, and theology. Charlie Spittle, August 10, 2010. An error doesn't have to become a mistake until you refuse to correct it. JFK. It is not the critic who counts, not the one who points out how the strong man stumbled or how the doer of good deeds might have done better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred with sweat and dust and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs and comes up short again and again, who knows the great enthusiasms, the great devotions, and spends himself in a worthy cause, who, for if he wins, knows the triumph of high achievement, and if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who know neither victory or defeat. Franklin Roosevelt. I'd like to make the distinction between feeling jealous versus acting jealous. The first is human, the second is petty. It's okay to have petty emotions. It's what you do with that emotion, how you speak, write, act, behave, that makes the difference. I'm jealous of my friends who can pick up women more easily than I can, but I don't insult them out of jealousy, out of reaction formation, cognitive dissonance, ambivalence, and mixed emotions, sour grapes. It's important that you confess this emotion. It makes the relationship stronger, for it is better to know why than just that. Charlie Spittle, August 11, 2010. The Catholic Church will defrock homosexuals from being priests, but will transfer pedophiliac priests to different other districts. Charlie Spittle, August 11, 2010. TV is more addictive than heroin. Albert Brooks, Defending Your Life. I agree, I get withdrawals when I go without TV for days. It takes less mental effort than studying and or doing homework. TV is so vegetative that you burn more calories sleeping than you do watching TV. I would like to go a month without TV and see if I can spend those hours mastering a language such as Spanish. Charlie Spittle, August 13, 2010. Sex. I need to see proof of age, identification, and or license and or passport, because I have big and powerful enemies who will do anything to tear me down. Charlie Spittle, August 11, 2010. Psychics. Scam. Get a real honest job. Throw enough bullshit on the wall, sooner or later something's got to stick. Not whether truth, whether works, gives people hope, false hope, closure, comfort to help cope and survive and live with a resolution from the loss of a friend and or loved one or relative. Charlie Spittle, August 11, 2010. Only the weak seek revenge. Forgiveness can only be expected from the strong, and the strongest learn how to forgive themselves. Charlie Spittle, August 19, 2010. I'd like to get access and to study the works, writings, philosophies of Confucius, Gandhi, and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Charlie Spittle, August 20, 2010. I would like to give my money away to friends, acquaintances, relatives, and enemies, because if it wasn't for them, I would not have grown and shaped and evolved into the person I am today. Charlie Spittle, August 20, 2010. Violent men don't cry. Charlie Spittle, August 20, 2010. I'm proud to be an SFU student. Tutorials, TAs, office hours, get to meet other bright people. It isn't too big or too intimidating structure. Architecture, easy to get around. Charlie Spittle, August 20th, 2010. My friend Danny Hung phoned me at the end of one of my summers in high school and asked, "Have you got your school supplies yet?" I used to think that was a funny question, but now I understand the zealousness my friend had for going back to school. It was a time for learning again, and learning is fun. As my biology chemistry 11 teacher Mr. Toth once said, school gives us something to do and acquire knowledge, and should be looked forward to by all students, young and mature. A time for new friendships and enhanced social life. Charlie Spittle, August 21st, 2010. This concludes Philosophy 7. Thank you.